Every day, billions of tires move quietly under cars, buses, and trucks. They carry people to work, families on long drives, and goods across entire countries. Most of us never think about them. We just expect them to work. But those four pieces of rubber are the only things connecting a vehicle to the ground. Each tire touches the road over an area no bigger than your hand, yet that small patch of contact is what keeps thousands of kilograms of weight under control. When you steer, stop, or accelerate, it's the tires that make it possible. They grip the road, absorb shocks, and hold traction through rain, heat, and speed, all without a single warning light or screen to remind us they exist. It's one of the most advanced safety systems ever created, but also the most ignored. Because when a tire fails, everything else from airbags to computers stops mattering. So how do they really work? And how does something so ordinary quietly keep millions of people alive every single day? Tires are one of the few parts of a car that almost everyone forgets about. They don't get software updates, they don't make noise, and most of the time, they don't get checked until something feels wrong. But when a tire fails, it can turn a normal trip into a disaster in seconds. Every year, thousands of people die in crashes linked to tire problems, blowouts, underinflation, or worn-out treads. In the United States alone, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration estimates that tire-related issues cause more than 11,000 crashes and around 600 deaths each year. Worldwide, the number is far higher. Modern cars are full of safety systems, sensors, computers, and cameras that can react faster than humans, but none of them work if the tires lose grip. Everything depends on the friction between rubber and road. If that connection fails, no amount of technology can save the driver. Yet most people still treat tires as something temporary, just parts to be replaced when they look old. Few realize how much science and precision goes into making sure that tiny patch of contact can survive heat, pressure, water, and wear. To understand how something so ordinary keeps us alive, we first have to understand how it actually works. A car stays on the road because of physics, and the part that makes it possible is the tire. Each tire touches the ground over a small patch of rubber, known as the contact patch. That's where all the forces of driving happen: braking, steering, and acceleration. The engine can produce hundreds of horsepower, and the brakes can create huge stopping force. But all of it passes through that tiny area of rubber on each wheel. When you drive, the tire constantly changes shape. It flattens slightly under the car's weight, then regains its round form as it rolls. This flexing generates heat, and that heat helps the rubber grip the surface better. Too much heat, though, and the rubber can start to break down, one reason why racing tires are replaced after just a few laps. The tread pattern plays another important role. The grooves push water away so the rubber can stay in contact with the road, reducing the risk of hydroplaning when a layer of water lifts the tire off the ground, causing the car to slide uncontrollably. Inside, a tire isn't just air and rubber. It's built like a layered shell: steel belts for strength, fabric for flexibility, and synthetic compounds for grip. Air pressure gives it structure, but it's the balance between pressure, heat, and friction that keeps it working safely. Even the sound of tires on the road tells part of the story, a mix of tiny vibrations, rubber friction, and the road's texture. It's quite proof that physics is doing its job, keeping thousands of kilograms of moving metal in control. The modern tire looks ordinary, but it's the result of more than a century of innovation and problem-solving. The story begins long before cars. Early wheels were made of wood and covered in metal bands to survive rough roads. They worked well for carts, but they were hard, noisy, and uncomfortable. There was no flexibility, no grip, no cushioning, just a solid ring rolling over dirt. Everything changed in 1888, when a Scottish inventor named John Boyd Dunlop created the first practical pneumatic tire for his son's tricycle. By filling the wheel with air instead of solid material, Dunlop made it lighter, softer, and faster. The idea spread quickly. Soon, bicycles and later automobiles began using air-filled tires for smoother, safer rides. In the early 1900s, companies like Michelin, Goodyear, and Continental began experimenting with new materials. The discovery of vulcanized rubber, a process that made natural rubber stronger and more heat-resistant, allowed tires to survive long distances and heavy loads. By the mid-20th century, another major breakthrough arrived: the radial tire, first developed by Michelin in 1946. Unlike earlier designs, radial tires used steel belts running perpendicular to the direction of travel, improving strength, durability, and fuel efficiency. That same basic design is still used today on nearly every vehicle in the world. From solid wooden wheels to complex layers of steel, fabric, and synthetic rubber, the journey of the tire is a story of constant improvement. Each generation of engineers made it a little stronger, a little safer, and a little smarter until the most ordinary-looking part of a car became one of its most advanced. When a tire fails, it rarely gives a warning. One second everything feels normal, the next, control is gone. Most failures begin quietly. Underinflation is one of the biggest causes. When a tire doesn't have enough air, more of its surface touches the road. That extra friction creates heat, which weakens the rubber and the inner layers. Over time, this heat can cause the sidewalls to crack or the tread to separate. Then, there's overinflation. Too much air makes the tire stiff and reduces the size of the contact patch. It feels sharper to drive, but it loses grip, especially on wet or uneven roads. A bump or pothole can burst it instantly. Another danger is age. Even if a tire looks fine, the rubber slowly hardens and becomes brittle. After about 6 years, the chemical bonds that make it flexible start to break down. Old tires are more likely to fail suddenly, especially in hot weather. Real-world accidents have shown just how serious these problems can be. In 2000, the Firestone and Ford Explorer case revealed how underinflated tires could overheat and separate at highway speeds. More than 200 people died before recalls changed regulations around tire pressure and load ratings. Modern tires now have stronger internal structures, better materials, and pressure monitoring systems that alert drivers when air levels drop. But even today, small mistakes, skipping maintenance, ignoring a warning light, or driving on worn tread can lead to disaster. A single tire failure at high speed can overwhelm every safety feature in a modern car. It's a reminder that even the most advanced machines depend on something as fragile as air and rubber doing their job perfectly. Every new tire design goes through years of testing before it ever touches a public road. It's not just about how fast it can go, it's about how it behaves in every possible condition: heat, cold, rain, and speed. In Germany, tire testing is taken to another level. Before a tire is approved for sale, it must pass TÜV certification, a system that inspects everything from build quality to environmental safety. On Germany's famous Autobahn, tires are pushed to extreme limits: high speeds, sudden braking, and long-distance endurance. At those speeds, even a small defect can destroy a tire within seconds, so testing has to be perfect. Japan focuses on precision and consistency. Tires are tested in climate-controlled labs that simulate real-world weather, from monsoon rain to icy mountain roads. Manufacturers measure tiny changes in grip and noise, using sensors that can detect micro-slips invisible to the human eye. It's a method that has made Japanese tires, like those from Bridgestone and Yokohama, famous for reliability and balance. In the United States, testing follows a more consumer-driven model. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration sets federal standards, but much of the market depends on independent testing and public ratings. American companies invest heavily in comfort and tread life, reflecting how drivers use cars long distances, mixed climates, and lower average speeds. Racing plays a role everywhere. Formula One and endurance events like Le Mans act as real-time laboratories for tire technology. The heat resistance, grip, and durability developed for the racetrack often become features in everyday road tires years later. These global approaches share the same goal, safety and performance, but they reflect cultural priorities. Germany tests for perfection at speed, Japan for precision, and America for comfort and practicality. Together, they've built the standards that keep billions of people safe, often without realizing how much work went into the round black object rolling beneath them. For more than a century, tires have kept us safe, but they've also created a new kind of problem. Every kilometer a car travels, small pieces of rubber wear away and mix with dust and road debris. These particles are called tire microplastics, and scientists estimate they make up nearly 30% of all microplastic pollution released into the environment each year. They end up in rivers, oceans, and even the air we breathe. Disposal is another challenge. Each year, the world produces more than 2 billion tires, and most can't simply be recycled like metal or glass. Some are burned for fuel, which releases carbon and chemicals. Others are turned into crumb, rubber for playgrounds or asphalt, but much of it still ends up in landfills. The rise of electric vehicles is making things more complicated. EVs are heavier because of their batteries, and that extra weight wears tires faster. Even though they produce no exhaust emissions, they can create more tire pollution than traditional cars. To solve this, tire makers are rethinking how tires are made. Michelin is testing an airless tire that never needs inflation and lasts longer. Goodyear is experimenting with natural materials like dandelion rubber to replace petroleum-based compounds. Others are developing smart tires with built-in sensors that monitor temperature, pressure, and tread wear in real time. The goal isn't just to make tires safer, it's to make them sustainable. Because, in the end, a technology that keeps us alive shouldn't harm the world that keeps us alive too. When we think about safety, we picture big things: airbags, seatbelts, strong metal frames, and high-tech sensors. But the truth is, one of the most important safety systems on any vehicle is also the simplest. The tire doesn't ask for attention. It doesn't flash a warning or light up a screen. It just does its job holding the road, absorbing shocks, and quietly correcting every small mistake a driver makes. Each one carries an enormous amount of trust. We depend on them without thinking. At every moment during a storm, on sharp turns, or at highway speeds, they take the weight of the car, the pressure of the road, and the demands of millions of different driving styles, all while staying reliable. It's easy to overlook something that works so well, but the tire represents a deeper truth about engineering, that the most important systems are often the ones you never notice. They don't make noise, they don't draw attention, they just keep everything else from falling apart. Every time a car moves, 4 small rings of rubber hold everything together. They carry weight, absorb impact, and create the invisible friction that keeps chaos away. We rarely think about them. We drive thousands of kilometers, trusting that they'll grip in the rain, stop in time, and survive heat and wear. And somehow, they almost always do. The modern tire is more than a circle of rubber, it's a quiet masterpiece of design. It balances chemistry, physics, and endurance to protect lives without ever asking for attention. When we think about the technology that keeps us safe, we often look for what's new or visible. But real safety often comes from the things we forget, the silent systems that never stop working. The next time you hear the soft sound of tires on the road, remember what's really happening. That noise is friction, control, and survival proof that something ordinary is doing something extraordinary.